Welcome, friend. Get comfortable. Adjust your pillow, pull up your blanket, and let yourself sink into wherever you're resting tonight. What you're about to hear is a comprehensive journey through the timeline of Stranger Things Season 5, told in a gentle, methodical way, designed to help you drift off to sleep. Before we begin our deep dive into Hawkins' final chapter, take a deep breath, in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to explore every detail, every moment, every beat of this story at a pace that lets your mind wander and rest. Season 5 marks the conclusion of a journey that began in 1983, and tonight we'll walk through exactly when everything happens, how the pieces connect, and what this means for our characters. So close your eyes if you'd like. My voice will be here, guiding you through the timeline as you drift into peaceful sleep. Let's begin at the very beginning of the end. To understand Season 5's timeline, we must first ground ourselves in where we left off. Season 4 concluded in March of 1986. Specifically, the battle at the Creel house, Max's tragic encounter with Vecna, and the opening of the gates all occurred on March 27th, 1986. This is our anchor point. Everything that follows stems from this moment. The sky split open above Hawkins. 4 gates merged into one massive rift, tearing through the centre of town. And as the buyer's pizza van drove back toward Hawkins, carrying 11, Will, Jonathan, Mike, and Argyle, they could see the destruction from miles away, smoke rising, ash falling like snow. This was Thursday, March 27th, late evening. Now, let's talk about what happens immediately after. The timeline suggests that Season 5 picks up with very little time having passed. We're looking at either a direct continuation or perhaps a jump of only a few days. The town of Hawkins is in chaos. The earthquake, as the government is calling it, has displaced thousands of residents. The high school has been converted into a shelter. Families are searching for missing loved ones. Our characters reunite at the Hopper cabin on March 28th or 29th. 11 sees Hopper for the first time since his supposed death. Joyce introduces Hopper to the kids he doesn't know well yet. There are tears, embraces, and the weight of everything that's happened settling on young shoulders. But there's no time for a proper reunion, because while they've been scattered across the country, dealing with their separate crises, Vecna has been growing stronger. The Upside Down is bleeding into Hawkins, and the timeline for saving their world is measured in days, perhaps hours. Let's slow down here and really examine the state of things at this temporal junction. The military presence in Hawkins intensifies rapidly. By March 30th, the town is under what amounts to martial law, though they don't call it that. Checkpoints appear at every major intersection. Humvees patrol the streets. Soldiers in hazmat suits investigate. The expanding affected zones where the Upside Down's influence is strongest. Dr. Sam Owens, if he survived his injuries from Season 4, would be working behind the scenes to keep the government from discovering the full truth. But his influence is waning. There are new players now. Military officials who don't care about containing information. They want weapons, advantages, ways to weaponize what's happening. Agent Wallace, or perhaps a new antagonist in a similar role, represents the government's interference in the party's mission. By March 31st, there are rumours that the military plans to seal off Hawkins entirely, quarantining it from the outside world. This creates urgency. Our heroes have perhaps a week, maybe less, before the government makes their move. Now let's consider the personal timelines. Where is each character at this moment? 11 has lost her powers, then regained them through her ordeal in the Nina Project, but using them against Vecna has taken its toll. In these early days of Season 5's timeline, she's weak. She can feel Vecna's presence, a constant buzzing at the edge of her consciousness, but she can't pinpoint him. Not yet. She spends hours in her makeshift sensory deprivation setup, a bathtub filled with salt water, in the Hopper cabin's bathroom, trying to find him, trying to understand his plan. Mike stays by her side as much as possible. He's fighting his own demons, the guilt of not being there when Max needed him, the fear that he'll lose Elle the way they nearly lost Max. He barely sleeps. Joyce notices this, brings him coffee in the early morning hours when she finds him keeping watch outside Elle's door. Will is experiencing something different. His connection to Vecna, to the hive mind, is both a curse and their greatest asset. He can feel when the Upside Down is spreading. On April 1st, he wakes up with a gasp, his hand on the back of his neck, and tells them that something big is coming. A surge, an expansion. He's right. By that afternoon, the affected zone has grown by 3 blocks in every direction. Lucas is at Max's bedside. The timeline here is particularly painful. Max has been in a coma since March 27th. The doctors at Hawkins General, those who haven't evacuated, say her brain activity is minimal, but Lucas knows better. He reads to her every day, tells her about everything happening outside. On April 2nd, he brings his tape player and plays her favourite Kate Bush song, even though the doctors say she can't hear it, but her fingers twitch. Just slightly. It's the first sign that she's still in there, still fighting. Dustin is processing grief in his own way. Eddie's death weighs on him. He's thrown himself into the problem-solving aspect of their crisis, drawing maps, calculating the rate of the upside down's expansion, trying to find patterns. Steve finds him on April 3rd, having not slept in 2 days, surrounded by papers and empty Coke cans, muttering about mycological spread patterns and dimensional breach physics. Nancy and Steve have settled into an interesting dynamic. They're partners in this, checking the perimeter, documenting the changes, interviewing the few remaining residents about strange occurrences. There's a moment on April 4th, as they're investigating a house on the border of the affected zone, where they nearly kiss. But then the lights flicker, vines burst through the wall, and the moment passes. There will be time for that later, if there is a later. Jonathan and Argyle provide a different kind of support. Argyle's surprising insight, he's smarter than people give him credit for, helps them think outside the box. On April 5th, he's the one who suggests that maybe they're thinking about this all wrong. Maybe they need to understand Vecna not as a monster, but as a person. Who was he? What does he want? It's basic, but sometimes basic is what they need to hear. Robin has taken on the role of researcher. The Hawkins Library, partially damaged but still standing, becomes her base of operations. She's diving into Victor Creel's history, the Creel house's past, trying to find any weakness, any pattern. On April 6th, she discovers something in an old newspaper archived on microfiche, a detail about the Creel family that doesn't match the official story. It's a small discrepancy, but it might matter. Erica proves her worth repeatedly. She's the only one small enough to fit through certain spaces, brave enough to volunteer for the most dangerous reconnaissance missions. On April 7th, she crawls through a collapsed section of the library to retrieve a book Robin needs. Ignoring the spores, floating in the air, the vines pulsing along the walls, Hopper and Joyce are the adults trying to hold everything together. Hopper's time in Russia has changed him. He's harder, more haunted, but also more determined. He knows what it's like to be trapped in hell, and he won't let these kids go through what he went through. Joyce is the emotional anchor, making sure everyone eats, sleeps when they can, checking in on the quieter kids who might not speak up about their struggles. Murray provides intel from his conspiracy network. On April 8th, he arrives at the cabin with troubling news. The government isn't just planning to quarantine Hawkins, they're considering more extreme measures, sterilisation, bombing. They see the Upside Down as a contagion that must be eradicated, and they don't care who gets caught in the blast radius. This brings us to approximately April 9th in our timeline. The party has been back together for about 2 weeks. They've gathered intelligence, made plans, discarded plans, made new plans. The Upside Down now covers roughly a third of Hawkins. The sky above the affected zone is perpetually dark, swirling with red lightning. The temperature in those areas is 20 degrees colder than the rest of town. Plants wither and die. Animals flee. And Vecna is waiting. They can all feel it. He's gathering strength for something. Something big. Let's take a moment here to breathe. In through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold for a moment. Now exhale slowly through your mouth, releasing all the tension. We're going to continue through this timeline together, but there's no rush. Let your body relax deeper into your bed. April 10th marks a turning point in the Season 5 timeline. This is when the party fully commits to their plan, whatever it may be. The details of their strategy are complex, and we'll walk through them slowly, methodically, letting each element settle into your mind as you settle into sleep. The morning of April 10th begins with a meeting. Everyone gathers in the Hopper cabin's living room. The space is crowded, 12 people crammed into a room meant for half that many. Coffee circulates. 11 sits at the centre, pale and tired but resolute. They discuss the nature of their enemy. Vecna is Henry Creel, also known as One, the first child in Brenner's experiments. Understanding his history is crucial. He was a boy who felt different, who discovered he had powers, who came to believe that humanity was a plague upon the earth. His family was his first attempt at cleansing, his father, mother, and sister. Though his sister Nancy survived initially, becoming the woman Victor Creel was accused of murdering. But the timeline gets complicated here. Because Henry was sent to Brenner, became One, mentored 11, and then was defeated by 11 in 1979. She sent him to the Upside Down, where he merged with the dimension itself, becoming Vecna over the course of 7 years before he began his killing in 1986. This history matters because it reveals his psychology. Vecna doesn't just want to destroy Hawkins or even just the world. He wants to remake reality according to his vision. He believes he's creating something better, something pure. The party needs to understand this to predict his moves. Robin presents her findings from the library. On April 10th, mid-morning, she lays out newspaper clippings, journal entries copied from archives, and a timeline she's constructed. She's found a pattern in the Creel murders from 1959. The dates correspond to something, possibly astronomical events, possibly something else. If Vecna is following a similar pattern now, they might be able to predict when he'll make his next major move. Dustin builds on this. He's calculated the energy requirements for opening gates of the size they're dealing with. It's astronomical. Vecna must be drawing power from somewhere, and if they can find that source, cut him off from it, they might weaken him enough for 11 to finish what she started in 1979. The afternoon of April 10th is spent scouting. Teams go out, never alone, always in pairs or trios. Nancy and Steve check the eastern perimeter. Robin and Erica investigate the library further, looking for more historical data. Jonathan and Argyle talk to the remaining residents, gathering stories of strange occurrences. Mike, Will, and 11 work on strengthening Elle's connection to the void, trying to pinpoint Vecna's exact location. By evening, they reconvene. The news isn't good. The Upside Down expanded another 2 blocks today. At this rate, it will consume all of Hawkins by April 20th. They have 10 days. Hopper makes a decision. They can't wait for the perfect plan. They need to act. On April 11th, they'll begin more aggressive reconnaissance into the Upside Down itself. They need to map it, understand its geography in relation to the real Hawkins, find Vecna's stronghold. The night of April 10th is restless for everyone. Will can't sleep. His connection to Vecna means he dreams of dark vines and ash-filled skies. Lucas falls asleep in the chair next to Max's hospital bed, his hand holding hers. Nancy sits on the roof of the cabin, a rifle across her lap, watching the red lightning in the distance. Mike and 11 talk in whispers, making promises they hope they can keep. April 11th dawns grey and cold. This is the day they enter the Upside Down in force, not for a quick mission, but for serious exploration. Let's walk through this carefully. The plan is for multiple teams to enter through different gates. This is dangerous. Splitting up is always dangerous, but they need to cover more ground. Each team has a specific objective. Team 1, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray. Their objective is to reach the old lab site in the Upside Down and see if there's anything there that can help them understand the dimension structure or Vecna's power source. Hopper carries a shotgun, Joyce has a hunting rifle, Murray has his martial arts skills and several Molotov cocktails. Team 2, Nancy, Steve, and Robin. They're heading for the Creel house in the Upside Down. It's Vecna's lair, or was last time. They need to know if he's still there, if there's information there, if there's a weakness they can exploit. Nancy leads with her sawed-off shotgun. Steve has his nail bat and a machete. Robin carries a flamethrower they jury-rigged from a propane tank. Team 3, Dustin, Lucas, and Erica. They're tasked with mapping the tunnels beneath Hawkins in the Upside Down. Understanding the underground network might reveal how the dimension is spreading. Dustin has his compass and maps. Lucas has his wrist rocket and a baseball bat. Erica has her sharp mind and a crossbow. Team 4, Jonathan and Argyle. They're the support team, staying at the border of the affected zone with communication equipment, ready to help if anyone needs extraction. Jonathan has his camera, documenting everything. Argyle has surprisingly good first aid skills. And then there's the final element, 11, Mike and Will. They're not entering the Upside Down physically. Instead, while the others are inside, 11 will be in the void, using her powers to track Vecna's location and communicate with the teams. Mike will keep her grounded, pull her back if she goes too deep. Will use his connection to sense danger, to warn them if Vecna becomes aware of their presence. The insertion happens at 9:06 a.m. on April 11th. The teams enter through gates scattered across Hawkins. Hopper's team uses the main rift in the centre of town. Nancy's team enters through a gate that opened in the old school. Dustin's team goes through a basement entrance that's been consumed by vines. And immediately, things are different than expected. The Upside Down has changed. It's not just a dark mirror of Hawkins anymore. The geography is warped, buildings are twisted, and there are new structures. Organic-looking towers made of vines and bone that pulse with red light. The air is thick with spores. Visibility is maybe 30 feet at best. Hopper's team moves through what should be downtown Hawkins, but the streets don't line up right. Buildings that should be blocks apart are now adjacent. It's like the dimension is folding in on itself. Joyce marks their path with glow sticks, a breadcrumb trail back to the gate. Murray notices something troubling. There are sounds in the distance. Not demogorgons. Something else. Something bigger. Nancy's team reaches the Creel house by 10:30 a.m. The structure is even more imposing in the Upside Down, wrapped in vines, those stained glass windows glowing with internal red light. They approach carefully. Steve goes first, bat ready. The front door is open. Inside, the house is a cathedral of horror. The walls pulse like a heartbeat. Vines cover every surface. And in the centre of what was once the living room, there's an altar of sorts, a structure made of bones and dark wood, and above it, suspended in the air, is something that makes Robin gasp. It's Max, or rather, an image of Max. Her body held in a web of vines, eyes closed, face peaceful. She's trapped here, in Vecna's lair, even though her physical body is in Hawkins General Hospital. Nancy radios this discovery back to base. This is huge. This means Vecna is keeping his victim's consciousness here, in the Upside Down. This might be how they can save Max. Meanwhile, Dustin's team is underground, mapping tunnels. The network is vast, much larger than they knew. The tunnels don't follow any logical pattern. They branch and merge and spiral. Erica has a theory. What if the tunnels aren't random? What if they're forming a pattern and they're just too close to see it? If they could map enough of it, they might see what shape Vecna is creating. At 11 a.m., things go wrong. 11, in the void, reaches out too far. She touches Vecna's mind, and he becomes aware of her, of all of them. His consciousness sweeps through the Upside Down like a wave. The teams feel it, a presence, vast and malevolent, focusing on them. In the Creel house, the vines start moving. They lash out at Nancy's team. Steve is grabbed, pulled toward the ceiling. Nancy fires her shotgun, shredding the vines, and he drops to the floor. They run. Robbins. Flamethrower keeps the pursuing vines at bay as they retreat. Underground, Dustin's team hears it, a roar that shakes the tunnel walls. Something is coming, something big. They run, following their marked path back toward the exit. Behind them, the tunnel fills with a churning mass of shadow and teeth. A new creature, something they haven't seen before. Hopper's team at the lab site finds themselves surrounded by demogorgons. Not just one or two, a pack of them, at least 6, emerging from the shadows. They form a defensive circle, weapons ready. The fight is brutal and close. Joyce takes down 2 with precise shots. Murray uses a Molotov cocktail, turning 3 more into screaming torches. Hopper fires shot after shot, his face grim. They survive, but barely. By noon, all teams have retreated back to the real Hawkins. They're battered, exhausted, and shaken, but they have new information. The debriefing on the afternoon of April 11th reveals several key points. First, Vecna knows they're coming. The element of surprise is gone. Second, Max's consciousness is being held in the upside down. To fully wake her, they need to retrieve it from Vecna's lair. Third, the upside down is restructuring itself. It's becoming something new, something organised. The towers, the rearranged geography, it's all deliberate. Fourth, Vecna has new creatures at his command, bigger, more dangerous than demogorgons. And fifth, they're running out of time faster than they thought. Will can feel it. Vecna is building towards something, a culmination. It's not just about spreading the upside down, he's preparing for something specific, something that will happen soon. April 12th is spent regrouping and treating injuries. Steve has vine burns on his arms. Hopper's shoulder is wrenched from the Demogorgon fight. Robin has inhaled too many spores and spends the day coughing, but they push through. They have to. Lucas returns to the hospital on April 12th, and he finds something remarkable. Max's heart rate has increased. Her brain activity is slightly stronger. It's as if, when Nancy's team found her consciousness in the Creel house, some connection was re-established. The doctors can't explain it, but Lucas understands. Max is trying to come back. She's fighting. This gives them hope and a new objective. They need to get back into the Creel house, back to where Max's consciousness is being held, and free her. But they also need to stop Vecna. These two goals might not be compatible. They might have to choose. The evening of April 12th brings another problem. Agent Wallace arrives in Hawkins with a military convoy. He's not here to help. He's here to enforce the government's decision. Hawkins will be sterilised on April 18th. That's 6 days from now. If the party can't stop Vecna by then, the military will carpet bomb the entire affected zone, upside down and all. This is delivered as a courtesy warning to Hopper, in recognition of his service as Chief of Police. Wallace doesn't know about 11 or the full truth. He thinks this is just a bizarre environmental disaster. Maybe a Soviet experiment gone wrong. He's just following orders. Hopper asks for more time. Wallace says he'll see what he can do, but he doesn't sound hopeful. So now the timeline is even tighter. 6 days, 144 hours, and counting. Let your mind rest here for a moment. Feel the weight of your body on your bed. Notice how your breathing has slowed, how your muscles are relaxing. We'll continue through the timeline, but let yourself drift if you need to. My voice will be here when you wake, or in your dreams. April 13th begins with a sense of quiet determination. The party knows what they're up against now. The timeline is clear. 6 days to stop Vecna before the military destroys everything. They spend this day preparing. 11 focuses on her training. She needs to be stronger, more controlled. Joyce helps her set up the makeshift sensory deprivation tank repeatedly. 11 spends hours in the void, not seeking Vecna, that's too dangerous, but instead exploring the boundaries of her abilities. Can she create barriers? Can she shield others? Can she pull someone's consciousness out of the upside down without entering it physically? By the afternoon of April 13th, she makes a breakthrough. In the void, she finds Max. Not Max's body in the hospital, but Max's consciousness, that part of her trapped in Vecna's web. They can't speak, not exactly, but there's a moment of recognition. Max's consciousness reaches toward 11, and for just a second, they connect. 11 pulls back before Vecna notices, but now she knows it's possible. She can save Max. She just needs to figure out how. The boys, Mike, Will, Dustin and Lucas, spend April 13th building weapons. Not guns or bombs, but specialised tools for fighting the upside down. They create more Molotov cocktails with additives that burn hotter and longer. They modify flashlights to be brighter, more focused, after noticing that the creatures seem to recoil from strong light. They even build a portable sound system inspired by Max's escape from Vecna. Loud music disrupts the connection, might disrupt Vecna himself if they can get close enough. Nancy, Robin and Steve continue their research. On the evening of April 13th, Robin finds something in the Creel House records. When the house was built in 1950, there was something unusual about its construction. The builder included a root cellar that doesn't appear on any official blueprints. It was sealed up before the Creels moved in, but there's a reference to it in a contractor's diary. This hidden room might be significant. It might be where Henry Creel first accessed the upside down, or where Vecna has hidden something important. Jonathan documents everything with his camera. He's creating a record, just in case. If they fail, if the worst happens, he wants there to be evidence of what they tried to do, who they tried to save. Argyle helps him organise the footage, but more importantly, Argyle keeps everyone's spirits up. His optimism is infectious, even in the darkest moments. Hopper and Murray have a conversation on the night of April 13th. They're sitting outside the cabin, smoking cigarettes. They shouldn't be smoking. Hopper admits he's scared. He survived Russia, survived torture, survived things he'll never fully explain to Joyce or the kids, but this feels different. This feels final. Murray says something that surprises him. Maybe that's the point. Maybe we're not supposed to survive this. Maybe we're just supposed to make sure they do. He nods toward the cabin, toward the kids inside. April 14th is a Sunday. Under normal circumstances, Hawkins would be quiet, families at church, or having lazy breakfasts. But Hawkins isn't normal anymore. Most of the remaining residents are evacuating. The military has set up a checkpoint at the edge of town, and there's a steady stream of cars leaving. The party watches this from the Hopper cabin. They feel isolated, like they're the only ones left to fight. In a way, they are. This is the day they finalise their plan. It's risky, possibly suicidal, but it's the best chance they have. Here's the strategy they settle on. Phase 1. Distraction. They need to draw Vecna's attention away from the Creel house long enough to get a small team inside. Hopper will lead a group on a frontal assault on one of the Vine towers, the organic structures they discovered on April 11th. They'll attack it with everything they have: Molotov cocktails, bullets, explosives. The goal isn't to destroy it, but to make enough noise that Vecna focuses on them. Phase 2. Infiltration. While Vecna is distracted, Nancy, Steve and Robin will enter the Creel house in the Upside Down. Their objective: reach that hidden root cellar and see what's there. If they find something useful, great. If not, they move to Phase 3. Phase 3. The rescue. While Nancy's team is in the Creel house, 11 will be in the void, attempting to extract Max's consciousness from Vecna's hold. This is the most dangerous part. Vecna will definitely notice this. He might attack 11 directly. Mike and Will be with her, ready to pull her back if needed. Phase 4. Confrontation. If all goes according to plan, and they all know it won't, they'll have weakened Vecna enough for a final confrontation. 11, at full strength, will face him in the void while the others provide physical support in the Upside Down. They'll kill him or die trying. It's not a perfect plan. There are a dozen ways it could go wrong, but it's what they have. The rest of April 14th is spent in quiet preparation. They check their weapons, they pack supplies, they write letters to family members, just in case. Nancy writes to her mother, explaining everything, apologising for the secrets. Steve writes to his parents, forgiving them for their absence. Robin writes to Vicky, confessing feelings she's been too scared to share. These letters are sealed and left with Jonathan, who's staying behind with Argyle and Erica to coordinate. That night, they have a last supper of sorts. Pizza, brought in by Argyle, who somehow managed to convince Surfer Boy Pizza to deliver to Hawkins one last time. They sit around the cabin, eating and talking, and trying not to think about tomorrow. Lucas leaves halfway through the meal. He needs to see Max. At the hospital, he sits by her bed, holding her hand, telling her about the plan. "We're going to bring you back," he whispers. "I promise. Just hold on a little longer." And maybe it's his imagination, but he swears her hand squeezes his, just a little, just enough. April 15th, the day they've been building toward. Let's walk through it slowly, minute by minute. 5. The teams wake up. They've barely slept, but adrenaline is coursing now. They dress in layers. It's cold in the Upside Down. They arm themselves. They say their goodbyes to Erica, Jonathan and Argyle, who will monitor from the border of the affected zone. 6:30 am, they move into position. Hopper's distraction team includes Joyce, Murray, Dustin and Lucas. They're heading for the Vine Tower at the centre of Hawkins, the largest structure visible from outside the affected zone. Nancy's team is Nancy, Steve and Robin heading for the Creel house. Eleven's team is just her, Mike, and Will, setting up at a safe location on the border where she can enter the void. 7:00 a.m. Hopper's team enters the Upside Down. The transition is jarring, as always. The temperature drops 20 degrees in an instant. The air becomes thick and humid. Visibility drops. But they push forward, carrying their explosives and weapons. 7:30 a.m. Hopper's team reaches the Vine Tower. Up close, it's massive. 50 feet tall, pulsing with red light, roots digging deep into the ground. They plant charges at its base. Murray lights the first Molotov cocktail. For Alexei, he mutters and throws it. The tower erupts in flames. The explosion is massive, shaking the ground. Exactly as planned, it gets Vecna's attention. They can feel his consciousness focusing on them, a pressure in the air. Creatures emerge from the shadows, demogorgons, the new bigger creatures, swarms of bat-like things. The fight begins. 7:32 a.m. Nancy's team enters the Creel house. With Vecna's attention elsewhere, the house is less defended. The vines are still, not reaching for them. They move quickly through the main floor, searching for the entrance to the root cellar. Robin finds it behind a wall panel, a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. 7:45 a.m. In the void, 11 finds Max. Her consciousness is suspended in Vecna's web, surrounded by darkness, but 11 can see her, can reach for her. Max's eyes open, in the void, not in her physical body, and she mouths 2 words, "Help me." 11 reaches out, trying to pull Max's consciousness free, but the web is strong, it's connected to Vecna directly. To free Max, 11 will have to sever that connection, and that will definitely alert him. 7:50 a.m. Hopper's team is in trouble. They're surrounded by creatures, and their ammunition is running low. Joyce is down to her last magazine. Murray's out of Molotov cocktails and is fighting hand to hand. Dustin takes a slash across his leg from a demodog and goes down. Lucas drags him behind cover, trying to stop the bleeding. 8:08 a.m. Nancy's team reaches the root cellar. It's a small circular room, walls covered in strange symbols. In the centre there's something that looks like an altar, but it's not made of stone, it's organic. Made of the same material as the vines. And on the altar there's something glowing, a small pulsing organ that looks almost like a heart. This is it. This is Vecna's power source, or part of it. Nancy doesn't hesitate. She aims her shotgun and fires. 8:01 a.m. Everything happens at once. The glowing organ explodes, sending out a shockwave through the Upside Down. The Vine Tower Hopper's team is fighting collapses, crushing several creatures. The vines throughout Hawkins seize up, then go still, and Vecna screams. It's not a physical sound, it's something they all feel, a psychic roar of pain and rage. In the void, 11 feels it like a physical blow. Max's consciousness is suddenly free, the web dissolving around her. 11 grabs her, pulls her close, and pushes back toward reality. But Vecna is coming. They can all feel him approaching, his attention now fully focused on them. The distraction worked, but now they've hurt him, and he's furious. 8:05 a.m. Nancy, Steve, and Robin run from the Creel house. Behind them, the structure is collapsing, vines thrashing wildly. They make it outside just as the entire building implodes, disappearing into a sinkhole that opens beneath it. 8:06 a.m. Hopper's team is retreating, carrying the wounded Dustin. The creatures aren't pursuing anymore. They're all converging on a single point, somewhere deeper in the Upside Down, where Vecna is gathering his forces. 8:10 a.m. In the real Hawkins in the hospital, Max gasps and opens her eyes. Her consciousness has returned to her body. Lucas, who's been sitting vigil, nearly falls out of his chair. "Max," he says, voice breaking. She turns her head slowly, focuses on him and whispers, "I could hear you the whole time. I could hear you." 8:15 a.m. But the celebration is premature. Because Vecna isn't defeated, he's enraged. And now he's doing what they feared most. He's coming through. Not just expanding the Upside Down, but physically emerging into Hawkins. The sky above the affected zone tears open, red lightning arcs across the town, and through the rift They see him, Vecna, massive and terrible, his form twisted and wrong, stepping through into reality. April 15th, 8:20 a.m. This is the moment everything has been building toward. The final confrontation, all. Teams converge on the centre of town. Hopper's team, battered but alive. Nancy's team, exhausted but determined. And 11, Mike and Will, rushing from their position. Vecna stands in the centre of Hawkins, easily 20 feet tall, his form a nightmare of vines and flesh and bone. His 4 eyes scan the town, and when he speaks, his voice echoes from everywhere and nowhere. "You've been such persistent insects," he says, his voice layered with harmonics that make their teeth ache. "But you cannot stop what's already begun. This world will be cleansed, remade, perfected." 11 steps forward. She's exhausted from pulling Max back, but she's not done, not even close. "You're wrong," she says simply. "We'll stop you, like I stopped you before." Vecna laughs, and it sounds like breaking glass. "You were a child then, 11. Strong, yes, but untrained, uncontrolled. I underestimated you once. I won't make that mistake again." 8:25 a.m. The battle begins. 11 raises her hands, and the ground beneath Vecna erupts. Chunks of asphalt and concrete fly at him, pelting his massive form. He swats them away casually, like they're gnats. Then he reaches out with his mind, and 11 feels the pressure, the same crushing force he used on his victims. She resists, pushing back, and the air between them shimmers with psychic energy. The others aren't idle. Hopper opens fire with his shotgun, aiming for Vecna's eyes. The pellets hit, and Vecna flinches. It's not much, but it's something. Nancy joins in, her rifle cracking shot after shot. Steve and Robin flank to the side, throwing Molotov cocktails at the vines spreading from Vecna's feet. But Vecna is powerful. He gestures, and the ground beneath Steve opens up. Steve falls, barely catching the edge. Robin grabs his hand, straining to pull him up. A vine whips toward them, and Nancy shoots it, severing it inches from Robin's face. Mike and Will are with 11, supporting her. Mike keeps his hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "You can do this," he whispers. "We believe in you." Will is using his connection to the hive mind, feeling Vecna's intentions, warning 11 when attacks are coming. 8:30 am, Vecna changes tactics. He raises both hands, and the creatures come. Dozens of demogorgons pour into the square from every direction. The larger creatures, the ones they saw on April 11th, emerge from the shadows. The bat things swarm overhead, blotting out the already dark sky. The party forms a defensive circle around 11. She needs to focus on Vecna. They'll handle everything else. Lucas is limping but fighting, his wrist rocket taking down bat creatures with precision. Dustin, despite his injured leg, is calling out targets, coordinating their defense. Joyce and Murray fight back to back, their weapons blazing. Hopper is a wall of fury, his shotgun booming, his fists crushing when he runs out of ammunition. Nancy is calm, focused, every shot counting. Steve's nailbat is slick with dark, ichor. Robin's flamethrower sweeps back and forth, creating barriers of fire, but they're being overwhelmed. There are too many creatures. 8:35 am. Jonathan's voice crackles over the radio. "We're coming." He, Argyle, and Erica are driving toward the battle in a stolen military Humvee. Loaded with weapons they grabbed from the checkpoint, it's foolish, reckless, and exactly what they need. The Humvee crashes through a line of demogorgons. Erica mans the mounted gun on top, her face fierce with determination. "Sorry I'm late," she shouts, opening fire. The cavalry has arrived, but it's still not enough. 8:40 am. 11 and Vecna's psychic battle intensifies. They're locked in a stalemate, neither able to overpower the other. 11 is strong, but she's tired. Vecna is wounded from the destruction of his power source, but he's had years to master the Upside Down, to merge with it. "You can't win," Vecna hisses. "Even if you kill me, the Upside Down remains. It will spread. It will consume everything." Will suddenly speaks up. He's lying. Everyone turns to look at him. I can feel it. He's connected to the Upside Down, yes, but he's also what's keeping it stable. If he dies, it collapses. It goes back. This is the key. They don't need to destroy the Upside Down. They need to destroy Vecna. But 11 can't do it alone. She's not strong enough. Not after everything she's been through today. 8:45 a.m. Max arrives. She shouldn't be here. She should be in the hospital bed, recovering. But Lucas's radio call reached her and she convinced a nurse to help her leave. Now she's being supported by 2 orderlies who drove her here. Her legs weak, her body shaking, but her mind sharp and clear. Max, no, Lucas shouts, trying to reach her. But a Demogorgon cuts him off. Max looks at Vecna, and there's no fear in her eyes, only anger. You had me, she says, her voice surprisingly strong. You were in my head. You think I don't know how you work now? She closes her eyes, and something remarkable happens. She joins 11 in the void. She shouldn't be able to. She doesn't have powers, but her time trapped in Vecna's mind has changed her. She's formed a connection to that space. In the void, Max and 11 stand together, and suddenly 11 isn't fighting alone anymore. 8:50 a.m. The tide turns. With Max's help, 11 pushes harder. Vecna staggers. In the physical world, his form flickers. The creatures pause in their attacks, confused. But Vecna has one more card to play. He reaches into the void, not for 11 or Max, but for Mike and Will. If he can hurt them, 11 will break concentration to save them. Vines shoot from the ground, wrapping around Mike's legs, pulling him down. Another set grabs Will. They're being dragged toward Vecna. Nancy sees this happening. Without hesitation, she runs toward Mike, firing her rifle at the vines. Steve is right behind her. Together, they cut Mike free. Hopper reaches Will, his hands ripping. At the vines, his face twisted with effort. Not these kids, Hopper growls. Not today. 8:55 M. 11 and Max make their final push. In the void, they're glowing with power. Max is feeding 11 her anger, her pain, her refusal to give up. 11 takes that energy and channels it. She thinks of everyone she's lost, everyone she saved, everyone she loves. She thinks of Hopper, who came back from the dead for them, of Joyce, who never stopped fighting, of Mike, who never stopped believing in her, of Max, who survived when she should have died, and she pushes. In the physical world, Vecna screams. His form begins to crack, light shining through the fissures. The creatures dissolve, turning to ash. The vines wither and fall away. No, Vecna roars. I was supposed to remake this world. I was supposed to... His words are cut off as 11 and Max, together, sever his connection to the Upside Down. And without that connection, Vecna is just a man again. Henry Creel, mortal, vulnerable. 9 a.m. Vecna falls. His massive form collapses, shrinking until he's just a broken figure on the ground. 11 walks toward him slowly, the others forming a protective circle behind her. Henry looks up at her with his 4 eyes, and for the first time, there's fear there. Please, he whispers, I just wanted to make things better. I just wanted... I know, 11 says softly, and there's pity in her voice, but also finality. Goodbye, 1. She raises her hand one last time, and Henry Creel, Vecna, the monster who terrorized Hawkins, ceases to exist. 9:05 a.m., the Upside Down begins to collapse. Just as Will predicted, with Vecna's death, the dimension loses its stability. The rift above Hawkins starts to close. The affected zones begin to change, the dark vines receding, the ash clearing from the air. The party stands in the centre of town, watching as their world slowly returns to normal. They're exhausted, injured, traumatized, but they're alive, and they won. Take a deep breath here. Feel the relief washing over you, just as it washes over our characters. The worst is over. The battle is done. Let your body sink deeper into your mattress, feeling safe, feeling calm. April 15th, 10 a.m. 1 hour after Vecna's defeat, the centre of Hawkins looks like a war zone. Buildings are damaged, the ground is torn up. There are scorch marks everywhere. But the red lightning is gone. The dark sky is clearing. Sunlight, real sunlight, breaks through the clouds for the first time in days. The military arrives in force at 10:15 a.m. Agent Wallace is with them, and he's confused. His instruments were showing catastrophic readings just an hour ago, and now everything is normal, or at least returning to normal. He finds Hopper sitting on the steps of what used to be the library, covered in cuts and bruises. What the hell happened here, Hop? Hopper looks at him for a long moment, then says, gas leak, massive explosion. We were lucky to contain it. Wallace doesn't believe him, not entirely, but he also doesn't have evidence of anything else. The Upside Down is gone. The creatures are gone. All that's left is regular destruction, the kind that could plausibly be explained by natural disasters. Your town got lucky, Wallace finally says. Yeah, Hopper agrees tiredly. Real lucky. By noon on April 15th, the medical teams arrive. Dustin's leg is properly treated. The burns and cuts everyone sustained are bandaged. Max is taken back to the hospital in an ambulance, but she's conscious and talking the whole way, telling the confused EMTs that she feels better than she has in weeks. 11 is the most concerning case. She's unconscious, having burned through all her energy in the final battle. Mike refuses to leave her side. They set up a bed for her in the hospital, in a room next to Max's. The doctors can't find anything wrong with her physically, but she won't wake up. She's just resting, Will assures Mike. I can feel it. She's okay. She just needs time. Mike nods, but he doesn't leave. He sits by her bedside, holding her hand, waiting. The afternoon of April 15th is a blur of activity. The military begins clean-up operations. The remaining residents of Hawkins start returning to their homes, or what's left of them. The media is circling, trying to understand what happened. The official story is forming. Freak weather event, possible seismic activity, investigation ongoing. The party regroups at the hospital cafeteria around 3 p.m. They're all there except 11, who's still sleeping. They sit around a table, eating terrible cafeteria food, and for a long time, nobody speaks. Finally, Dustin breaks the silence. Did that really just happen? Did we actually win? We won, Nancy confirms. It's over. Is it though? Robin asks. I mean, the Upside Down is gone, but what about the military? What about all the secrets? What about... One crisis at a time, Steve interrupts gently. Today, we celebrate being alive. Tomorrow, we deal with everything else. That seems to settle it. They eat in companionable silence, occasionally sharing looks that say more than words could. By evening, April 15th, things start to feel more real. The adrenaline has worn off. The reality of what they survived is setting in. Some of them cry. Lucas breaks down when he's finally alone with Max in her hospital room, all the fear and stress pouring out. Max holds him, tells him it's okay, that they made it. Nancy finds a quiet moment with Steve on the hospital roof. They watch the sunset, a real sunset, pink and orange and beautiful, and Steve takes her hand. So, what happens now? He asks. I don't know, Nancy admits. College, I guess. Life. Normal things. Normal sounds pretty good, Steve says. They don't kiss, not yet. But they hold hands and watch the sun go down, and that's enough for now. Hopper and Joyce finally have their moment late that night. They're in a Weichin hospital waiting room, both too wired to sleep despite their exhaustion. Joyce's head is on Hopper's shoulder. I thought I'd lost you, she whispers. When you were in Russia, I thought... I know, Hopper says, his arm around her. I thought I'd lost you too, but we're here. We made it. What do we do now? Joyce asks. We live, Hopper says simply. We take care of these kids. We rebuild. We live. April 16th dawns bright and clear. It's the first truly normal day Hawkins has had in weeks. 11 wakes up mid-morning. Mike is asleep in the chair next to her bed, his head on her mattress, their hands still linked. She squeezes his hand gently, and he wakes with a start. Elle? His face lights up. You're awake. I am awake, she confirms, smiling. We won? We won, Mike assures her. You were amazing. You and Max together. You were... He stops, emotion choking his words. I'm just glad you're okay. They sit together quietly, and there's peace in that moment. No more fighting, no more running, just two teenagers who've been through hell together, grateful to be alive. The next several days, April 16th through April 20th, pass in a strange haze of normalcy and abnormality. Hawkins is being rebuilt. The damaged buildings are being repaired. The government has declared the town safe, and residents continue to return. The party has to figure out how to go back to being regular kids, at least on the surface. School is cancelled for the remainder of the year due to the damage, which gives them time to decompress. But they know they'll have to face reality. Eventually. On April 18th, Max is released from the hospital. Her doctors are baffled by her recovery. She should need months of physical therapy, but she's walking, talking, functioning as if the coma never happened. Lucas stays close to her, protective but not smothering. They take a walk through Hawkins on the afternoon of April 18th, just the two of them. The town is different now, scarred but surviving. I had these dreams while I was under, Max tells him. Or maybe they were visions. I could hear you talking to me, reading to me, playing that Kate Bush song. I didn't know if you could hear me, Lucas admits. I heard everything, Max says, and she takes his hand. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never, Lucas promises. Dustin and Steve have a moment on April 19th. They're helping with reconstruction efforts, moving debris, when Dustin suddenly stops. Hey, Steve? Yeah, buddy. Thanks for, being there for all of it. You didn't have to keep helping us after the first time, but you did. You keep doing it. Steve ruffles Dustin's hair, and it's an affectionate gesture. You're a good kid, Dustin. You all are. I wasn't going to let anything happen to you. You're pretty cool too, Dustin says, grinning, for a hair-obsessed babysitter. Watch it, Steve warns, but he's smiling. Nancy spends April 19th writing. Not for the school paper, that doesn't exist anymore, but for herself. She's documenting everything that happened, creating a record. She's not sure what she'll do with it yet. Maybe nothing. Maybe one day, when the world is ready, she'll share the truth. But for now, it's just her way of processing. Robin finds her that evening. What's your writing? History, Nancy says simply. The real version. Robin sits down next to her. Can I help? And so they work together, two brilliant minds collaborating to preserve the truth. Jonathan and Argyle leave Hawkins on April 20th. They have to get back to California, back to school and life and normalcy. The goodbyes are hard. Jonathan hugs Will for a long time. You were so brave, he tells his little brother. I'm proud of you. You too, Will says. Come back soon. As soon as I can, Jonathan promises. Argyle gives everyone hugs, even Murray, who looks uncomfortable but accepts it. You guys are legends, Argyle says. Straight up heroes. Don't forget that. As they drive away, Hawkins shrinking in the rearview mirror, Argyle asks, Do you think they'll be okay? Jonathan thinks about it, then nods. Yeah, they've been through worse. They'll be okay. Let's move forward in the timeline now. Settling into a gentle rhythm as we explore the weeks following Vecna's defeat. Time passes differently now, slower, more peacefully. Let yourself drift with it. April 25th. 10 days after the battle. Hawkins is starting to resemble a normal town again. The reconstruction is ongoing, but the panic has faded. The military presence has been reduced to a small contingent, there mainly to oversee the cleanup. Agent Wallace has returned to Washington, his report filed, the incident officially closed. The party meets at the newly rebuilt Palace Arcade on this day. It's one of the first businesses to reopen, and the owner, recognising what these kids did, even if he doesn't know the details, gives them unlimited free play. They spend the afternoon playing Dig Dug and Dragon's Lair, and for a few hours, they're just kids again, laughing, competing, teasing each other. It feels good. It feels normal. But there are quiet moments too. 11 struggles with Dig. Doug's controls, and Mike patiently teaches her. Max has to sit down after a while, her strength not fully returned yet, and Lucas immediately gets her water and a chair. These small considerations, these gentle kindnesses, they're how the party takes care of each other now. On the evening of April 25th, they have a gathering at the Hopper cabin. It's become their unofficial headquarters. Joyce makes dinner, spaghetti, garlic bread, salad. Everyone crowds around the table, passing plates, talking over each other. Hopper watches them from the head of the table, and there's something peaceful in his expression. These kids, this chaotic, brave, brilliant group, they're his family now, all of them. Later that night, after everyone else has gone home, Hopper has a conversation with 11. "How are you feeling?" he asks. And I want the real answer, not the one you think I want to hear. 11 considers this. "Tired," she admits, "and sometimes scared. I keep waiting for something else to happen, for another monster." "I know the feeling," Hopper says. "But Elle, it's over. We won. You can rest now." "Can I?" 11 asks, and there's such vulnerability in the question. "Yeah, kid," Hopper says, pulling her into a hug. "You can." May 1st, a new month begins. Spring is truly arriving in Hawkins now. Flowers are blooming, trees are greening. The world is coming back to life, and with it, so is the town. School is scheduled to resume on May 5th, which gives the students a few more days to prepare. For the party, this means figuring out how to reintegrate into normal teenage life after everything they have experienced. Dustin spends May 1st with his mother, helping her repair their house. She asks him about what happened, and he gives her the official story. Earthquake, gas leaks, chaos. She doesn't entirely believe him, but she also knows her son well enough to know he'll tell her the truth when he's ready. "I'm just glad you're safe," she says, hugging him tight. "Me too, Mom," Dustin replies. "Me too." Lucas and Max have a date on May 2nd. It's their first real normal date since Max woke up. They go to the movies, what's left of the theatre anyway, and see a comedy that's not particularly funny, but they laugh anyway because they can, because they're alive and together. Afterward, sitting outside, sharing ice cream, Max says, "I want to leave Hawkins someday. Not soon, but eventually. See other places. Have adventures that don't involve monsters." "That sounds nice," Lucas agrees. "Can I come with you?" "I'd be mad if you didn't," Max says, smiling. Mike and 11 spend May 3rd exploring Hawkins. 11 has only really known the town through Crisis. She's never just walked around, looked at normal things, been a normal person. Mike shows her his favourite places, the comic book store, the park where he used to play as a kid, the spot by the quarry where they sometimes hang out. Hawkins is actually kind of pretty, 11 observes, when it's not being invaded. "Yeah," Mike agrees, "it's home." And for the first time, 11 really understands what that means. Home isn't just a place, it's the people. And she has that now. She has a home. Will spends these early May days painting. He's always been artistic, but trauma has given him new perspective. His paintings are darker now, but also more powerful. Joyce finds him on May 4th in his makeshift studio working on a canvas. "That's beautiful," she says, looking at the image of a girl standing in light, pushing back shadows. "It's Elle," Will explains, "from the battle. I wanted to capture how she looked, how strong she was." Joyce hugs him from behind. "You're also strong. You know that, right?" Will nods, but there's doubt in his eyes. He was possessed once. He was connected to Vecna. Sometimes he wonders if there's still a piece of that darkness in him, but he's learning to live with those fears, to paint them out onto canvas where they can't hurt him anymore. May 5th. School resumes. It's strange, walking back into Hawkins High after everything. The building was damaged but has been repaired. There are new lockers, fresh paint, an attempt to make everything seem normal. But the students know better. They know something happened, even if they don't know what. The party sticks together, moving through the halls as a unit. People stare. There are whispers. The freaks who somehow survived the earthquake. The ones who were at the centre of it. But nobody confronts them directly. There's a respect there, earned through suffering. Classes are strange. Teachers try to act normal, but how do you teach algebra when half the town was nearly destroyed? How do you discuss literature when real monsters were roaming the streets weeks ago? Nancy finds herself struggling to care about her assignments. She's been accepted to Emerson College in Boston, set to start in the fall. But after everything, College feels simultaneously very important and utterly meaningless. Steve is back at work at Family Video. It survived the chaos with minimal damage, and while his parents want him to do something more with his life, he's content for now. He likes the simplicity of it, recommending movies, chatting with customers, no life or death decisions. Robin works with him, and they fall into an easy rhythm. Best friends, partners in survival, comfortable in silence. One day, a customer asks if they're dating, and they both laugh. Not even close, Robin says, and Steve grins. He knows about her and Vicky now, encourages her to ask Vicky out properly. Life's too short, Steve says. We both know that better than most. The middle of May passes quietly. Days blend together in a pleasant way. The party meets regularly, sometimes at the arcade, sometimes at the cabin, sometimes just riding bikes through town like they did when they were younger. On May 15th, there's a town meeting. The mayor, a new one, elected after the previous mayor's corruption was exposed, addresses the residents. He talks about resilience, about rebuilding, about moving forward. It's a good speech, hopeful and honest. The party attends, sitting in the back row. When the mayor mentions the brave first responders and young people who helped during the crisis, people turn to look at them. There's applause, and it's uncomfortable, but also acknowledgement. Hawkins knows, on some level, what they did. After the meeting, a reporter tries to interview them. Nancy politely but firmly declines. We're just glad everyone's safe, she says, and that's all they'll say. Publicly. Privately, later that night at the cabin, they talk about how strange it is to be heroes that no one can acknowledge properly. To have saved the world and have no recognition beyond knowing looks and respectful nods. It's better this way, Hopper says. Trust me. Fame is overrated. What matters is, you know what you did. We know. That's enough. And maybe it is. May 20th brings graduation for Nancy, Steve, Robin, and Jonathan, who returns to Hawkins for the ceremony. It's a subdued affair, held outside since the auditorium is still being repaired, but there's joy in it too. These 4 young people, who've been through so much, who've saved the world multiple times, are moving on to the next chapter of their lives. Nancy gives a speech as valedictorian. She talks about resilience, about community, about how the worst times can bring out the best in people. She doesn't mention monsters or alternate dimensions, but everyone in the party understands the subtext. Afterward, there are photos and congratulations. Hopper and Joyce are there, proud as any parents. The younger kids swarm around their older friends, bittersweet about them leaving, but happy for them too. You'll visit, right? Dustin asks Steve. Dude, I'm not even leaving town, Steve replies, ruffling his hair. You're stuck with me. That night, there's a party at Skull Rock, the old hangout spot. It's the graduates and the party and a few other friends. Someone brings a boombox. Someone else brings beer. Though the adults pretend not to notice. They dance and laugh and make promises about staying in touch. Mike and Eleven sneak away from the group, finding a quiet spot under the stars. Are you scared? Mike asks. About the future? A little, Eleven admits, but also excited. We can be normal now. We can just be. I like the sound of that, Mike says, and he kisses her, soft and sweet. Nearby, Lucas and Max are having a similar conversation. No more saving the world, Max says, just regular life. Sounds boring, Lucas teases. Sounds perfect, Max counters. And maybe it does. Let's move forward more quickly now, touching on the key moments as summer arrives and life continues. Your breathing should be slow and steady now, your body deeply relaxed. Let these images wash over you gently. June arrives with warm weather and long days. School lets out for the summer on June 10th, and suddenly the younger party members have endless free time. They spend it the way kids should, riding bikes, playing games, swimming at the quarry. There are no monsters lurking, no dark clouds gathering, just summer. Dustin goes to Camp Nowhere again, leaving in mid-June. Before he goes, the party has a send-off at the arcade. Try not to save the world without me, Dustin jokes. We'll try, Mike replies, grinning. Will and Eleven grow closer during this summer. They're both outsiders in different ways, both marked by their experiences. They spend hours together, Elle watching Will paint, Will teaching her about art and colour and expression. "You're a good brother," 11 tells him one day. Will smiles. "You're a good sister," and that's what they are now. Family, chosen and real and permanent. Joyce and Hopper officially get together in late June. There's no big announcement. Everyone just kind of realises that they're functioning as a couple now. Hopper moves some of his stuff into the buyer's house. They're staying in Hawkins now, no more moving. The kids tease them mercilessly, but it's affectionate teasing. "Took you long enough," Murray comments when he visits in early July. "Shut up, Murray," Joyce and Hopper say in unison, and everyone laughs. Nancy leaves for Boston in mid-August. The goodbye is hard. She hugs everyone, promises to call, to write, to visit. Steve drives her to the airport, and they have a long conversation in the car about what they are to each other. "I care about you," Nancy says, "but I need to figure out who I am outside of Hawkins, outside of all of this." "I get it," Steve says, and he means it, "but I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here." They hug goodbye, and it's bittersweet but right. Robin also leaves, heading to college in Indiana. She and Vicky are officially together now, planning to try long distance. Steve is happy for her, but also lonely with both his closest friends gone. But he has the kids. They adopt him, pulling him into their summer adventures. He becomes the designated driver for mall trips, the one they call when they need an adult but not their actual parents. He grumbles about it, but secretly, he loves it. By September, life has settled into a new rhythm. The younger kids start school. Mike, Will, 11, Lucas, Max, Dustin, and Erica, all in the same grade now, sticking together. Hawkins High has fully reopened. There's talk of building a memorial for those lost during the earthquake, though the exact details are still being debated. The Upside Down doesn't come back. The gates stay closed. 11 checks regularly, using her powers to sense any dimensional instability. But there's nothing. It's really over. On September 20th, the 6-month anniversary of Vecna's defeat, the party has a quiet gathering at the cabin. It's not a celebration exactly, more of an acknowledgement. They light candles for those they lost. Bob, Hopper's 3 years in Russia, Max's time in the coma, Eddie, and all the other casualties along the way. "We did it," Mike says quietly. "We actually did it." "Yeah," 11 agrees, her hand in his. "We did." October brings cooler weather and falling leaves. Halloween approaches, and for the first time in years, the party can celebrate it without fear. They dress up, ridiculous costumes, nothing scary, and trick-or-treat like children, even though they're too old for it. People indulge them. These kids have been through something, even if the adults don't know exactly what. Let them have candy and laughter and normal teenage nonsense. Will dresses as a wizard, Mike is a paladin, Lucas is a ranger, Dustin is a bard, 11 goes as a superhero, which makes everyone laugh because of the irony. Max is a pirate, Erica is a warrior queen. They fill pillowcases with candy and stay out too late and feel, for one night, completely carefree. By November, the timeline has brought us almost full circle. It's been 8 months since Vecna's defeat. Hawkins is thriving again. The population is returning. New businesses are opening. The scars are still visible, but they're healing. Nancy comes home for Thanksgiving. The Wheelers host a huge dinner, and the party is invited. It's crowded and loud and chaotic, with everyone talking over each other, plates being passed, laughter echoing. Hopper and Joyce are there with 11 and Will. The Sinclairs bring Lucas and Erica. Mrs. Henderson brings Dustin. Max is there, having worked things out enough with her mother to be in a better place. Steve comes, and Robin, home from college for the break, brings Vicky. It's not a perfect gathering. There are still tensions, still healing that needs to happen, but it's family, chosen and biological, together, and that means everything. In December, as winter arrives and the year comes to a close, the party finds themselves reflecting on everything that's happened. It's been a year and a half since March 1986 when this all started to end. So much has changed. They've changed. On December 20th, they meet at the Wheeler basement, just like old times. Someone suggests a D&D campaign, and surprisingly, everyone agrees. Even 11, who's been learning the game, wants to play. Dustin DMs, weaving a story about heroes who save a kingdom from a great evil. It's transparently based on their own experiences, but no one calls him out on it. They play their characters, roll their dice, laugh at bad rolls, and cheer at good ones. And for a few hours, they're just kids playing a game. No trauma, no fear, just imagination and friendship. As the session ends and people start to leave, Mike lingers. "You think we'll always be like this?" he asks Dustin. "Friends, I mean. Even when we're old." "Yeah," Dustin says with certainty. "We've been through too much together. We're stuck with each other forever." Mike smiles. "Good. And now, as we near the end of our timeline journey, let's look ahead to what the future might hold for our heroes. Let your mind drift with these possibilities, these gentle imaginings of peace and healing." January 1987 begins with hope. New Year's Day finds the party at the quarry, bundled in winter coats, watching the sunrise together. It's a tradition they've decided to start. Every New Year, they'll meet here, no matter where life takes them, and remember. 11 makes a resolution to be more present, to worry less about what might happen and enjoy what is happening. Mike supports this, making his own resolution to be braver about expressing his feelings, about being vulnerable. Lucas resolves to appreciate every moment with Max, knowing how close he came to losing her. Maxie resolves to let people in more, to trust that she doesn't have to face everything alone. Dustin resolves to apply to MIT for college, to pursue his love of science and technology. Will resolves to submit his art to galleries, to share his vision with the world. Erica resolves to run for student council because if she can face down monsters, she can definitely handle high school politics. As the sun rises, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they stand together in comfortable silence, friends, family, survivors, heroes. By March 1987, exactly 1 year since the nightmare began, Hawkins holds a memorial service. It's for all those lost during the earthquake and subsequent disasters. Names are read, candles are lit, the community comes together to mourn and to heal. The party attends, standing in the back. They know the truth behind many of these deaths. They carry that knowledge, that weight, but they also carry the knowledge that they stopped it from being so much worse. After the service, they visit Eddie's grave. Dustin places a guitar pick on the headstone. "You were a hero," he says quietly. "I hope you know that, wherever you are." The others add their own tokens, flowers, a die from their D&D set, small remembrances for a friend they lost too soon. Spring 1987 brings renewal. Gardens bloom across Hawkins. The town looks better than it has in years, rebuilt with care and attention. There's a sense of pride in the community, a feeling that they survived something terrible and came out stronger. 11's powers are stable now. She practices regularly, but she's not pushing herself. She's learning balance, understanding that her worth isn't tied to her abilities. She's more than a weapon. She's a person. She's Elle. Mike and 11 talk seriously about the future for the first time on a warm April evening. They're walking through the woods, hand in hand, and Mike says, "I want to go to college somewhere near you, wherever you end up." "You should go where you want," 11 argues, "not follow me." "But I want to be where you are," Mike says. "Is that so bad?" 11 considers this, then smiles. "No, it's not bad. It's nice." They talk about possibilities. Maybe they'll both end up in Boston, near Nancy, maybe California, where Jonathan is, maybe somewhere entirely new. The point is, they'll figure it out together. Lucas and Max are having similar conversations. Max is thinking about her future more seriously now. She's always been smart, but she's applying herself in new ways. She's thinking about journalism, like Nancy, or maybe social work. She wants to help people who are going through what she went through. "You'd be amazing at that," Lucas tells her. "You understand pain. You understand survival. You could really help people." "Maybe," Max says, but she's smiling, considering it seriously. Summer 1987 is perhaps the most normal summer the party has ever had. No monster attacks, no conspiracies, just long, lazy days and warm nights. Dustin gets accepted to MIT with a full scholarship. He's over the moon, calling everyone to share the news. Steve is particularly proud, treating Dustin to dinner and boring everyone with stories about his kid getting into the best tech school in the country. He's not actually your kid, Robin points out. Close enough, Steve replies. Will has his first art show in June, a small local gallery featuring young artists. His paintings draw a surprising amount of attention. People are drawn to the emotion in them, the interplay of light and dark. One piece, the painting of 11 from the final battle, sells for more money than Will has ever seen. Joyce cries at the show, proud beyond words. Jonathan flies in from California to attend, bringing a fancy camera to document everything. My little brother, the famous artist, he teases. Shut up, Will says, but he's beaming. Nancy's first year of college wraps up successfully. She's thriving in Boston, working on the school paper, making new friends. But she comes home for the summer, and there's a moment when she and Steve see each other again at the grocery store. They talk, really talk, about what they want, who they are now, whether they've grown apart or grown in parallel. They don't have all the answers, but they agree to try. To date properly, with honesty and communication. We're different people than we were, Nancy says. Good, Steve replies. I like who we've become. Hopper and Joyce get engaged in July. It's not a surprise to anyone, but it's still joyful. They have a small party at the cabin to celebrate. No big wedding plans yet. They're taking it slow, enjoying being together without rushing. About time, Murray says, raising a glass. I've been saying this should happen for years. We know, Murray, Joyce says, laughing. Trust me, we know. August brings the bittersweet reality of change. Nancy is heading back to Boston. Robin is returning to college. Dustin will be leaving for MIT soon. The party is beginning to splinter, not in a bad way, but in the natural way of growing up. They have one last big gathering before everyone leaves. A party at the quarry with a bonfire and music and food. It's a celebration of friendship, of survival, of the future. As the night wears on and people pair off into smaller conversations, Mike finds himself sitting with Will by the fire. It's weird, Mike says. We fought so hard to have a normal life, and now that we have it, everyone's leaving. Not leaving, Will corrects gently. Growing, there's a difference. Is there? Mike asks. Yeah, Will says. Leaving is about running away. Growing is about moving toward something. We're all moving toward our futures. But we're not leaving each other behind. We can't. We've been through too much. Mike considers this, then nods. You're right. You're good at this, you know. The wise advice thing. I've had a lot of practice being the quiet one, Will says with a smile. You pick things up. September 1987 marks the beginning of a new school year. The younger party members are seniors now, their final year of high school. It's exciting and terrifying in equal measure. 11 is thriving academically. With tutoring from Mike and support from her teachers, she's catching up to her peers. She's even thinking about college, something that seemed impossible just a couple of years ago. Lucas makes the basketball team, varsity this time. He's good, really good. And there's talk of college scouts, but he keeps it balanced, still making time for the party, for campaigns, for the things that matter. Max joins the school newspaper, inspired by Nancy. She's a good writer, with a sharp eye for detail and a willingness to ask hard questions. Her first article, about mental health resources for students, wins a local journalism award. Erica is in middle school now, and she's already making waves. She joins every club, wins every debate, and generally terrifies anyone who underestimates her. The party loves it. She's going to run the world someday, and they'll all be proud to say they knew her when. October 1987 passes peacefully. Halloween is fun again, a celebration without fear. The party is too old for trick-or-treating now, so instead they have a horror movie marathon at Steve's house. They watch terrible B-movies and laugh at the fake monsters, so unlike the real ones they've faced. These are so unrealistic, Dustin comments during a particularly bad scene. Yeah, Max agrees. Real monsters are way scarier. Can we not talk about real monsters? Steve pleads. I'm trying to enjoy my retirement from monster hunting. They laugh, and the conversation moves on, because they can do that now. They can joke about it, process it, integrate it into their history without being consumed by it. November brings Thanksgiving again, and this year the gathering is even bigger. Everyone comes home. Nancy from Boston, Robin from Indiana, Jonathan from California, even Dustin from MIT for a long weekend. The Wheelers' house is bursting at the seams, and it's perfect. They share what they're grateful for. It's cheesy, but they do it anyway. Grateful for family, for friendship, for second chances, for normal, boring, peaceful days, for each other. December 1987, as the year winds down, finds the party in the Wheeler basement once more. They're finishing a campaign that's been going for months, the climactic final session. The heroes face down the Dark Lord, and in true D&D fashion, it comes down to a single roll. 11 picks up the die. She's playing a wizard, naturally. She needs a 20 to hit. The room is silent as she rolls. 20, natural 20. The basement erupts in cheers. The Dark Lord falls. The kingdom is saved. The heroes win. As they celebrate, laughing and recounting favourite moments from the campaign, Mike looks round at his friends. They've all changed so much, grown taller, older, more mature. They've been through literal hell together. But in this moment, they're just kids playing a game. And that's beautiful. The session ends late. As people gather their things to leave, 11 pulls Mike aside. "Thank you," she says. "For what?" Mike asks, confused. "For giving me this," 11 says, gesturing to the basement, to their friends, to everything. A normal life, friends, family, dice games and pizza and stupid jokes. All of it. Thank you. Mike hugs her. "You gave yourself this, Elle. You fought for it. You earned it. We earned it," 11 corrects. Together. And she's right. As we move into 1988 and beyond, let's touch on the future more lightly now, painting broad strokes of the lives our heroes build. Your breathing should be deep and even, your body completely relaxed. Let these images flow through your mind like a gentle stream. 1988 brings graduations for Mike, Will, 11, Lucas, Max, and the others. They walk across the stage at Hawkins High, receiving their diplomas, and it feels both monumental and strange. They've saved the world multiple times, and now they're celebrating a piece of paper. But it matters. It represents something: normalcy, achievement, the future. College acceptance letters arrive throughout the spring. Mike gets into several schools and chooses one in Boston, wanting to be near Nancy, and hoping 11 chooses something nearby. 11, after much consideration, decides on a small liberal arts college in Massachusetts. She wants to study psychology, help people who have been through trauma. Lucas accepts a basketball scholarship to a state school. Max is going to the same school, pursuing journalism. They'll be together, figuring out the future side by side. Will chooses an art school in New York City. It's far from Hawkins, but it's where he needs to be, to grow as an artist. Jonathan promises to visit often from California. Dustin is already at MIT, thriving in the world of technology and innovation. He's working on projects that would blow their minds, but he still makes time to call and catch up with the party regularly. Erica is ruling Hawkins High as a freshman, already a legend in her own right. The party's legacy continues through her. The summer of 1988 is their last summer all together before college scatters them across the country. They make the most of it. Road trips, late nights, endless conversations about nothing and everything. On their last night all together, they return to the quarry. It's become their special place, where important moments happen. They build a fire, sit around it, and talk about their fears and hopes for the future. "We're going to be okay," Nancy says with certainty. "All of us. We've survived worse than college." "Yeah, but college has math," Dustin jokes, and everyone laughs. They make a pact that night. No matter where life takes them, they'll come back to Hawkins every Thanksgiving. They'll stay in touch. They'll be there for each other. Distance doesn't end family, and they keep that promise. 1989 finds them scattered but connected. Letters fly back and forth. Phone calls happen late at night when someone is stressed about exams or homesick or just needs to hear a familiar voice. Mike and 11 navigate college together, their relationship growing and maturing. They have fights, real fights about real things, but they work through them. They're learning what it means to be partners, not just in monster fighting, but in life. Lucas and Max thrive at their school. Lucas excels at basketball while keeping his grades up. Max wins awards for her writing. They support each other, push each other, love each other. Will flourishes in New York. The art scene is vibrant and challenging and exactly what he needs. He makes friends who don't know about his past, who just see him as a talented artist. It's freeing. Nancy becomes an editor at the college paper, then moves on to internships at major publications. Her dream of being an investigative journalist is coming true. Steve visits when he can, and their relationship deepens. It's not always easy. They're both stubborn and independent, but it works. Robin and Vicky navigate their own relationship with all its complications and joys. They're figuring out what it means to be young and queer in the late 80s, and they find strength in each other. Steve stays in Hawkins, working at Family Video and coaching Little League on weekends. It's not glamorous, but he's happy. He's the person the younger party members call when they come home for breaks, the one who always has time to listen. Hopper and Joyce get married in the fall of 1989. It's a small ceremony in their backyard, just family and close friends. The party is all there, dressed up, crying happy tears. When Hopper and Joyce exchange vows, promising to love each other, through whatever comes, the party shares looks. They know what that means, what they've all been through together. These aren't empty promises, they're tested, proven, real. The reception is joyful, dancing and laughter, and terrible speeches from Murray. Mike and 11 slow dance, holding each other close. That's going to be us someday, Mike whispers. Maybe, 11 says, smiling, if you're lucky. I'm already lucky, Mike replies. As the 80s turn into the 90s, the party continues to grow and change. Some of them move back to Hawkins after college. Some settle in other cities. Some travel, exploring the world they saved. Lucas goes professional with basketball for a few years, living his dream. Max becomes a successful journalist, eventually writing a book about trauma and recovery that helps thousands of people, though she never reveals her own full story. Will becomes a renowned artist, his work displayed in galleries across the country. His paintings of light overcoming darkness resonate with people in ways he never expected. Mike becomes a teacher, working with at-risk youth. He understands what it's like to feel different, to face impossible challenges. He helps kids believe in themselves. 11 works as a therapist, specialising in trauma and PTSD. She can't tell her clients about her own experiences, but she understands them in ways few others can. She saves people in a different way now, and it's just as important. Dustin continues in tech, eventually founding a startup that does innovative things with communication technology. He's successful and wealthy, but he never forgets where he came from. Nancy becomes the investigative journalist she always dreamed of being, exposing corruption and telling important stories. She wins awards, but what matters most to her is making a difference. Robin becomes a teacher too, inspiring a new generation with her intelligence and passion. She and Vicky build a life together, proving that love persists even when the world tries to tell you it shouldn't. Steve finally figures out what he wants to do. He opens a youth centre in Hawkins, a safe place for kids who feel different, who need somewhere to belong. He calls it the party place, and everyone gets the inside joke. Erica, as predicted, conquers every challenge put in front of her. She becomes a lawyer, a fierce advocate for justice. The party is proud but not surprised. They always knew she was going to be something special. The years pass. 1995, 2000, 2005. The party grows older, but they stay connected. Thanksgiving in Hawkins becomes sacred, a tradition that anchors them. There are new additions to the family over the years, partners, spouses, children. The next generation, who grow up hearing vague stories about the earthquake, and more specific stories about friendship and bravery. Mike and 11 marry in 1995, a beautiful ceremony where half the guests are crying before the vows even start. They have 2 children, a boy and a girl, who never have to face monsters but inherit their parents' courage and kindness. Lucas and Max marry a year later. Their wedding is full of laughter and basketball references and joy. They have kids too, who Max teaches to be strong and Lucas teaches to be kind. Will never marries, but he has partnerships and loves and a rich life. His art continues to evolve, always exploring themes of darkness and light, pain and healing. Nancy and Steve do eventually get married, after years of on and off dating and figuring themselves out. Their wedding is in Hawkins, of course, and the party is there, older now, but still fundamentally the same. Dustin marries a brilliant engineer he meets at a conference. They have one daughter who is somehow even smarter than Dustin, which everyone agrees is both impressive and slightly terrifying. Robin and Vicky raise 2 adopted children, building a beautiful family in a world that's slowly, finally starting to accept them. 2010, 2015, 2020. The party is middle-aged now, but when they get together, they're teenagers again, telling old stories, laughing at memories, remembering those who aren't here anymore. Hopper passes away in 2018, peacefully in his sleep. The funeral is huge. Half of Hawkins shows up to honour the man who protected them, even when they didn't know it. The party speaks at the service, sharing stories that make people laugh and cry. Joyce moves in with Jonathan in California after Hopper's death, needing to be close to family, but she returns to Hawkins every Thanksgiving, keeping the tradition alive. The world changes around them, technology advances, culture shifts. But the bonds forged in fire and fear and love remain unbreakable. In 2025, the party gathers for Thanksgiving again. They're in their 50s now, grey hairs and reading glasses and aching joints. But when Mike makes a D&D reference, everyone still gets it. When Dustin starts explaining a scientific concept, they all roll their eyes affectionately. When someone mentions the quarry, they all know what it means. They've lived full lives, rich lives, normal lives, exactly what they fought for. That evening, after dinner, they take a walk through Hawkins. The town has changed so much over the decades, new buildings, different shops, but the bones are the same. It's still home. They pass by the old arcade, now a trendy coffee shop, the site where the lab used to be, now a park, the quarry, unchanged and eternal. You ever wonder if we dreamed it all? Max asks. If the upside down and the monsters and everything were just some collective hallucination? No, Eleven says firmly. It was real. We have the scars to prove it, inside and out. But we also have this, Mike adds, gesturing to their group, to Hawkins, to the life they've built. We have everything we fought for. Was it worth it? Lucas asked quietly. All the pain, the fear, the loss? They all consider this. Then, one by one, they nod. Yes, Nancy says, it was worth it. Because they're here. They survived. They loved and were loved. They built lives worth living. And that night, as they sit around a fire at the quarry one more time, passing a bottle of whiskey and telling stories, they're not middle-aged adults with mortgages and responsibilities. They're kids again. Brave, foolish, brilliant kids who saved the world because someone had to, and it might as well be them. To the party, Steve says, raising the bottle. To the party, everyone echoes. And the fire crackles and the stars shine, and somewhere in the distance Hawkins sleeps peacefully, protected by heroes who never wanted to be heroes but were anyway. And so our journey through the timeline ends, friend. We've walked through Season 5 together. From the immediate aftermath of Vecna's first attack through the final battle and into the years beyond. We've seen our heroes grow from traumatized teenagers into adults who carry their scars with grace. The Stranger Things timeline is complete now. The gates are closed. The monsters are gone. And the people of Hawkins, especially our party, get to live the lives they deserved all along. So rest now. Let your mind settle. Let your body sink deeper into sleep. The story is told. The battle is won. There's nothing left to do but dream. Dream of summer days and bicycle rides. Dream of friendship that transcends time and distance. Dream of courage in the face of impossible odds. Dream of love that endures. The party fought for tomorrow, and tomorrow came, bright and full of possibility. And now you can sleep, knowing that in this story, this timeline, everything turned out okay. The heroes won, the world was saved, love conquered fear. Close your eyes, let the timeline fade, let yourself drift. Good night, friend. The Stranger Things are over, and our heroes lived happily ever after.